Put in sport. Mounted foot on the brake. Hang on. And go. Oh! Yes! Hey guys, welcome back to JR14. Here I am with another automotive review. Now, if you guys didn't know, I'm a fanboy of Audis. I actually just reviewed my boy Quick Spool's Audi S3. Go ahead in the upper right hand corner of the screen and check that video out. But today, I have my brother Eric's 2013 Audi S5. This is not my car. This is the first time that I had an extended review. I've had this car for about a week now, and I've absolutely fallen in love with it. And today, I'm here to tell you why I've fallen in love with it. Obviously today what we're going to be doing, we're actually going to be doing a full review of the car, interior and exterior, and also my driving impressions after driving it for a full week. So I'm pretty excited about it, but first let's go around the car and talk about some of my favorite key details about the 2013 Audi S5. So without further ado, let's go. So with the 2013 Audi S5, first of all, this car was, so let's just go back real quick. Some really detailed information, but again, just some key points. So there were two variants of this car. There was a B8 and there was a B8.5. Now, since we're talking, you know, and the S4s and the S5 are pretty much similar, but just to give you a little bit of background, so today in today's video we're only going to be talking about the S5. Now, the S5 B8 actually did come with a 4.2 liter naturally aspirated V8. You can get that car, I believe it wasn't a dual clutch transmission, I don't believe. I think it just came with a conventional 8-speed ZF transmission, but also you can get that car in a 6-speed manual. But then also the front fascia looked different, the rear taillights looked different, everything looked different about the B8. But once they did a facelift for the B8.5, which I believe was from the round of the years of 2013 to 2016. I could be wrong, I think it's either 2012 to 2016 or it's 2013 to 2016. But with the B8.5, you did get a more aggressive front fascia, more aggressive headlights, as well as a front bumper. Also, you did get more aggressive taillights, full LEDs with much more high-end LED taillights that came with this car. Also, I mean, pretty much besides those things, the car pretty much was the same, except one big thing. Audi decided not to use the 4.2 liter V8 anymore and actually decided to take the motor out of the S4, which was a supercharged 3-liter V6, and they put it in the S5 for the B8.5 variant. So this now, like I said, has a 3-liter 6-cylinder with a supercharger on it, making 333 horsepower. Now, the great thing about this is that you could also get this configuration with the carryover DSG 7-speed automatic transmission, which this car actually has. Or if you're lucky enough to find one, you can get this car in a 6-speed manual. Me personally, I've driven the S4 in a 6-speed. I've driven an S4 in a 6-speed manual, and let me tell you right away, it is an absolute gem to drive, as well as this. But let's look under the hood real quick, shall we? While looking under the hood, you can see how Audi loves to package decently sized motors in small places. So like I said, this is a V6, but it's mounted in front of the actual axles. So normally, also with the 4.2 liter, that was the same case with earlier generations of the S4 and also the S5. It's more nose heavy than anything. But again, since you changed that 4.2 liter to a 3-liter V6, you shaved a lot of weight off the nose of this car. But even so, this car weighs around 3,800 pounds, even with the V6 under the hood. So again, right on the top here, you have your supercharger, you have your pulley, which is right here. And then also, this is it. This is the motor, like right here. Like the motor stops here. You see, I mean, but when you're looking at, like, the packaging in this car is tight, but it's manageable. Like for instance, if you're looking to get one of these cars used and you wanted to change the spark plugs, All the spark plugs are really easy to get to, which is right on the side here. To change the oil, it's right here. To add coolant, it's right here. To change the oil filter cap, it's back here. So things like that, like normal maintenance, is pretty easy on this car. Now, the only thing that's a little difficult on this car is the timing chains. Now, the good thing about this motor is that this is one of the more reliable platforms for Audi. So they really didn't have any issues when it came down to timing. But the timing is on the back of the motor, meaning that if you're really, really good, you can do the upper timing chains, which is normally, if it is a problem with timing chains, it's usually the up timing chain guides that cause rattle in the upper part of the timing chain case. But if you're doing a whole timing chain, you pretty much would either drop the transmission out and work it within the car, which most people do, or you would drop the motor. So there's options. You know, like my Volkswagen, for instance, the transmission would be mounted on the side because the engine would be horizontal rather than vertical like this. But the cool thing about this is that, like I said, this is one of the most reliable platforms of Audi, and literally this car has about 71,000 miles on it after being a 2013, and literally I've been driving it for a week and it's been great. So when it comes to coupes, I mean, when I was young, I loved them because I was younger at the time, single, this, that, and the third, don't really have a lot of people in my car, don't really have to move a lot of stuff. But something about this car always hits me, and it's probably because when my dad had a 2009 Audi A5 3.2 liter V6, literally that car was white, and it's the same body shape as this. 2009 was the first year that these came out as far as the body type, and I absolutely fell in love with it. To this day, it's still one of my favorite coupes. I really do love the way that, especially right here with a roof line, most coupes actually cut down, but this actually, you know, it cuts down like right here, killing headspace. Now, granted, when you sit in the back of this thing, if you're 6 feet tall or 5'10", like myself, you know, you really are not going to have a lot of headroom, but it's decent compared to most coupes. And I do like the shape of the rear window. I really do like the fact it looks a little bit more GTR-ish to me, if that makes any sense. And I love the way everything is put together. Also, body lines, like for instance, Audi does this very well. I mentioned it in the S3 review that I did. But in this one, it's a little different. I love how they bring this line, right? You see this line coming all the way from the front headlight, all the way in the front fender to the door. And then the way that they taper it off is right in the taillight, and then it kind of fades into the bumper. That's kind of cool designing to me. I really love the way this is. Now, as you see this car, it has a little bit of cosmetic modifications to it. For instance, the window trim is now blacked out. The wheels are actually painted in black. They're powder coated in black, as well as the brake calipers that are powder coated in red. And I believe NYC paint coating. I'll put the description down here so you guys can see where he got the work done. Now the taillights, a little too dark for my taste, but you know, to each its own. But pretty much that was it. And when you look at this car, it looks absolutely incredible when it pieces all together, especially in this red color. But let's start her up and see what she sounds like. Okay, now we're inside of the 2013 Audi S5, and when I say for an 8-year-old car, and cars changing their designs every single year, this interior to me is kind of timeless, right? Now, we've seen other Audi interiors. You guys know that you're mostly Volkswagen channels on here, so you kind of know what I'm saying when Audi interiors, the older cars, could be a little dated, a little simplistic. This is still the same way, but it still has that modern look to it. Even 8 years later, you know, it still has that nice, different vibe that no other car has. And that's what I really appreciate about the Audi S5. For instance, the steering wheel with the flat bottom. Also, you know, he did his own touches here where he put his own little trim piece, like he wrapped the trim pieces in the car, which actually tie everything really nicely. I love the way that everything kind of contours up. So everything kind of like flows up into the upper part of the dash. Everything kind of swoops up. And then you also have the screen that's kind of integrated in here. And then also you can move down, you have the shifter and all the little metal pieces. Again, this is one of the things that I'm happy with my GTI. is that all the little metal pieces are real. So in the cold, these are all kind of cold to the touch, all the door trims and everything else. Now the car did come with carbon fiber on the side of the panels here, I mean on the door sills, as well as on the center console. But literally, one thing I do appreciate, before I guess all these companies started doing the piano gloss black, this has matte black all over the place, and it's held up very well for being an 8-year-old car. And it looks a lot better than piano black. Because piano black, as soon as you touch it, it looks dirty. You can get it scratched easily with wiping it down. It just doesn't look that great. So definitely, I really love this interior, and I think that the next 5 years down the road, the interior will still look good in the future. But I'm done talking now. What I want to do is, let's start her up and let's go for a drive. All right, guys, we are in the Audi S5, and like I said, it's going to be a bit of a different review because I've had this car for a week, so I could pretty much point things out at this point that I like, that I don't like, and give you some really good, honest feedback. All right. So let's talk about some good things, right? The car is very smooth. It's an Audi. It's supposed to be. Like, you know, so for instance, you're in a luxury sedan, like you're in a luxury coupe. This is a luxury coupe. The S4 will be the luxury sedan, had the same motor, same platform as this. Now, you know, obviously I'm a manual guy. I love manuals, but this DSG definitely hits you different. It's smooth. It gets the right gear at the right time. There is sometimes when you want to downshift to a lower gear, and it doesn't let you because you're not at the certain speed. But I don't know if a TCU flash fixes that. This car is bare bones stock, by the way. No, there's nothing extra regarding the power. There's no tunes, there's no flash, there's no parts even. Like, this car is bone stock from factory. So literally, you know, you're getting my impressions based on a stock car, not a modified car. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because this is a car that I'm actually seriously considering for the channel, for the future, for myself. And you know, my brother was just like, you know, like, just have the car for the week and tell me your impressions on it. And man, driving it home was fantastic. I actually drove it 2 days ago. It was pouring out. You're still able to do the speeds that you want to do because it's all-wheel drive. That Quattro all-wheel drive system is like no other. A fantastic experience knowing that the car is not going to slide around anywhere. Like, that is a huge deal for me, because my GTI, it's okay, but it's front-wheel drive. If you do hit the right patch of water, then it's going to hydroplane. That's just the natural characteristics of the of that car. But this, it stays planted in the dry. It stays planted in the wet. Now, right now, I am in sport. So the DSG allows you to be just in regular drive, which if you just pull back one, you're in drive. Driving hunts the highest gear. Like, again, this is a DSG. In this car, it was a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, so you have that. And it looks for the highest gear. Now, if you want more of I wouldn't say aggressive shifts, but if you want the RPMs to stay higher for longer, then you slip it back into sport. And literally now it still changes gears for you, but it only changes it at a higher RPM. I know Quickspool was telling me about this feature when you can change how, like, what RPMs that the car will change gear at, you know, and he wanted it to be at a specific point. And I agree with him, because these DSGs at times, they can get jerky if they shift too quickly. You know, not necessarily anything bad or anything like that. It's just the natural characteristics of that transmission. But I also did hear that a lot of the times that the flashes solves a lot of the complaints that people have about DSG. But right now, for me at this point, other than the fact that when I'm at a certain speed I want to downshift, it doesn't let me because I'm not at the correct speed. That's the only gripe I have about it. This transmission is fantastic. Now, the B8 S4s had Megatronic issues with the DSG, but the B8 and a half, which I believe was 2013 and up, 2013 to 2016, they fixed that. There was no issues with those at all. Those were perfectly fine, and there is no major concerns to worry about when it comes down to the DSG. Now, when you're looking at an S5 or an S4 for that matter, with the 3-liter, so we're talking about B8.5s in this video, there's really not that many problematic things to go on. I mean, obviously you got to do your normal wear and tear items, your suspension components. This is multi-link suspension, so you got to worry about that. You also have to worry about issues with the timing chains. Like I said, now Audi recommends when you start the car on a cold start, you hear this timing chain rattle. It comes from the back of the motor, from the top of the back of the motor, and that's where the timing chains sit, the upper timing chains. If they rattle for 3 seconds or less, then that's normal. That's normal characteristics for this car, as stated from Audi, FCP Euro. Oh wow, a G80 M3. But if it rattles for longer than that, then you might have to replace guides and timing chains. Now, that job's a little bit labor intensive. I don't know a price quote for that, so you know, I know you guys are gonna ask me, well, what would European charge? I don't know, me personally, but yeah, I mean, other than that, there's really not much to go wrong with these cars, and that's why I really like them. To do at a red light, let's do a little so we'll do a little launch control. To do launch control, you put it in sport, you hold the traction control button until you have stabilization turned off, you blip the throttle, and then you let go. Oh God, yes. Shut her down, shut her down. Oh my God. So even with the launch control in this car, right, I did that a little quickly, and I wasn't prepared for it because the light turned green so quickly, but thank you for the car not beeping behind me. Literally, this thing is a monster. It's really dope, like with the launch control, because it's so aggressive. And I know I've been in the car when it's modified and it launches, and it's very scary. Like, you get all 4 wheels to spin. For example, I drove ECS's manual S4, and literally when you did launch control in that car and you let your foot off the clutch in first, all 4 tires light up. So it literally smokes all 4 wheels, which is insane. Now this car specifically, I noticed some options that when you get an S4 or an S5 that you have to look out for. The sports differential, this does have it. If you pretty much need some AC, because it's really hot in here right now. I need some air on my face. Thinking about. So going back to the sports diff. So one of the options that you really do want to make sure that you have is the sports differential in the rear. That allows the back to come out a little bit more. It's a little bit more sporty oriented to engage in more of a sporty driving experience when you have an S4, and it also comes in an S4 as well as the S5. The way you can tell that, I believe there is a controller on the back that kind of looks like the front computer for the front hell decks on a GTI, and you'll be able to find it, you know, you'll be able to see that there. Also, if you look at the options list, it would say, you know, like sports differential as an option. That was an option for this car. Now, you know, I did have it in here, and I definitely hit some corners, and let me tell you, it does make a difference, because I've driven Audi S4s and S5s without the differential, and now driving one with the differential does make a world of difference. It doesn't understeer as much, if that's what you think. If you get what I'm saying. So for instance, when I was in the rain and I took a corner like from a stop, the back will come out. It's very weird because the car is all-wheel drive and I'm not used to Audi sliding the rear. But it does it. It definitely does it. And you know, you just gotta be mindful of that. So you gotta be careful of how you drive the car and what you're trying to do, you know. So don't drive like a complete idiot. But this Audi, since it has a quattro system, will save you out of a lot of issues. The S5 would normally, I believe, in my opinion, would compete against, like for instance in this generation would be the 335 BMW, as well as the C450 Mercedes, which I think came out in 2016, which is the last year this car came out. And I think it feels right at home. A lot of people compare it to an M3. I would not compare this to an M3. It's significantly less on power. It's not even in the same ballpark, in my opinion. It's just not. But I think, you know, with what this car has to offer, you have a big bang for your buck here. This is a gem to have as a daily driver. Now, I'm driving a little slow right now. There's a lot of traffic. So let me cut back in to where I can give you my driving impressions of driving in a more spirited manner. All right, so we're back now, and now what we're going to do is we're pretty much going to do a more spirited drive with this car to see how it is on corners and everything else. There's some divots, there's some lefts, there's some rights. It's like a back road. So what I want to do is I'm going to do the launch control first, and then we go right into the drive. So that being said, we're in sport. Put in sport. Mounted foot on the brake. Hang on. And go. Oh! Yes! Oh my God. Okay, that was a little fast. And now what we're gonna do is, I'm not gonna drive an automatic anymore. There is a manual mode. We do have shift paddles and a DSG dual clutch transmission. So I'm gonna slap it over, and now we're just gonna do the drive with, and there's a bunch of bikers around. So we're gonna do the drive with everything doing this. Like, as far as, we're gonna do the drive basically in full manual mode. So then, and then also you do have drive select, so that changes a lot of things in the car. Dampening, it changes throttle response. So we're gonna change it into dynamic, which it's in dynamic now. And now that adds throttle response. When you put it in sport, you get these farts from the DSG. So I'll roll the window down so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. So I'm in M2 and I'm gonna shift to 30. You hear what I'm talking about, like. Amazing. Amazing. I love this thing. So, like, this thing on corners is fantastic. Like literally, the best thing I like about this car is that, you know, it's still very tame, but it provides so much as far as performance, as far as handling characteristics and everything of the sort. That's good. I can give myself some space. It's staggering to how this car handles and how it holds its power, meaning that it doesn't feel too, you know, too much. And I think these cars, as far as, like, you know, potential of making more power, like this, like I said, it comes with 333 horsepower. I think it's 324 pound-feet of torque, but literally it feels like more than that. This bend. Oh my God. Wow. So with the DSG, what makes it engaging-ish? It's not engaging like a manual. It's nice to throw gears. But when you're in this and you're actually, you know, you engage, the engagement is the quick shifts, right? To get into the next gear, to continue that power build. And downshift. Downshift. Go. And another thing about this platform, the fact that it has such a punch, it's supercharged. Instant torque. Like, not instant like an electric car, but there's no lag like a turbo car. Like my car, I'm used to nothing, oh, and then it kicks you in the pants. This doesn't do that. This actually gives you that power instantly. Like, boom. Like for instance, third, go to second. Now punch it. Stop. Punch it again. Punch it again. It's literally power. It's just power. And it's usable power. It's not too much to where it's getting out of its own way. It's literally power that's usable, obtainable, and I think even adding more power to it would make, like, you could still have a really crazy capable car. Now, with the power gains with this, you can get like 400 and change, almost 500 wheel horsepower with something with this. And the DSG can hold it. And the motor doesn't need to be built to do it. I know plenty of people who have an S4 that have built this platform to what you can basically do. I'm talking about fuel pumps, heat exchangers, E40, high pressure pump, and also, what else? Oh, the ultra charger, tuning capabilities, all that stuff. And literally, and the car's actually stupid. Like, yep. And the gears are short but long. So like that's third gear. I'm in third gear the entire time. But normally in my car I would have to be in second because I have to keep the turbo spooled. This, third gear. Third gear, I'll go to fourth. Fourth gear at 2,500 RPM. I'm gonna slow down a little bit so I can get the car ahead of me a little bit of space. But just to give you an idea, like, I mean, obviously you're putting a lot of load on the car, but let me shift down to third. So now I'm at third, 2,500 RPM. Go. Stop, go. It's so insane. And these cars with an exhaust system, oh, it sounds good now. To me, it's quiet. I mean, compared to what, I mean, you guys know what kind of car I drive, but, and you know the exhaust setup on that car. But, oh my God, this thing with an exhaust is ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's how crazy this car is with an exhaust and test pipes. It can get loud, but my God, when I say that this thing is literally, it sounds, the ear, it's such an organic, intoxicating noise that this car makes, in my opinion. And in my opinion, I think the two best exhaust systems for this car is ECS's Valvetronic system. Hang on, I'm gonna get around this car. Oh my God. Best exhaust systems for this car, in my opinion, are the ECS Valvetronic system and the AWE exhaust. Now, depending on how loud you want that, you can go with the AWE Touring, or you can go with the AWE Track. The Track obviously does not include a resonator, which makes the car more louder. You get more drone that way. Yes, yes. Go. Oh my God. There's a speed limiter on this, so like as far as like with Audis and Volkswagens, you can like set a speed limiter so it always warns you when you go over that speed. I'm not telling you what speed that was. All right, so now I'm gonna get onto a highway that I know has like a nice little S-curve. And I'm gonna wait because there's a specific thing I wanna do. There's a nice sharp bend at the end of this corner that I definitely wanna take. And I'm gonna show you that right now. So, getting on the highway, I'm taking my time. Slow down, shift a second. It'll let you shift a second. Yes, yes. Oh my God, great. It's so good. It's so good. Yep. Yep. Every time I do need to downshift at speed though, and I need a downshift, it does it. It's only when I'm in like regular traffic or like stop and go traffic when I want to get into a certain gear and it doesn't let me. When I'm on the highway, every single time I needed to get down a gear to let me do it. And I I want one. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the moment and I'm feeling away. I've been thinking about an S4 B8.5 for a very, very long time. And me driving this S5 and having it for a week is yes for me. It checks off all the belt. It's practical, it's reliable, it's safe. You can't get into too much trouble with it, like getting sideways and stuff like that. And it literally is something that I want to own in a DSG. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think this is definitely something that I would love to own. And if you're interested in getting an S4 and S5 for yourself, absolutely incredible. It's absolutely an incredible car. Now, another thing I wanted to point out, there are, I wouldn't say a couple of cons. I would say there's one big con. Now, it's not the car's fault because it's when the car was built. The car was built in 2013. So there is no Apple CarPlay in this car. And that's okay. There are aftermarket options to get Apple CarPlay in today's market. So I'm not really too bummed out about it, to where you could pretty much have an 8-inch display in this unit. You can have a 10.5 inch and you can have a 12 point, no, you can have a 10.2 inch and then you can have a 12.5 inch screen. They're all great. They're Android based systems, but they do offer Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And that's my only gripe with the interior. I mean, literally everything is easy to get to. The buttons do look a little intimidating when you first get in the car, but when you really think about it, it's not bad. You figure everything else, it's second nature now to me. And it only took me a couple days to figure it out, how to like look for certain things like the climate control. The one thing that did tick me off was how to change the music in a song. So it's actually this volume knob, and you have to tilt it, like push it to the side, left or right. Left to go back a track, right to go up a track, to skip to the next track. And it took me like 3 days to figure that one out. I mean, it's been so long since I've been in one of these. But man, when I say this car's it, this car's definitely it. And the good thing about these price points, the price points on these cars used with similar mileage go for like 25,000. You get a lot of car for that. You get a luxury Audi, a modern Audi, you get a forced induction car, you get the sport model version of the car. It's not like you're getting like an A5 or an A4. You're getting an S5, an S4 for that money. And if you find one in a manual, good luck. They're rare to find, but if you do find one, snag it quick because you will not see it again. If my buying procedure, I'm looking for a DSG, but if I found a manual S4, I would grab it just because I know how rare they are. And how much value they hold. Now, obviously, the manuals, like I just said, are going to hold more value than the DSGs. These cars were predominantly sold with DSG transmissions, but finding a manual one is the rare bit of the bunch. All right, guys. Well, that is my full review of this 2013 Audi S5, and I know I say this, I know I think this a lot. My closest friends know how much I love all different types of cars. This is probably a car that I'm gonna own very close into the near future. I love the way it drives. I love the power. I love the power potential that these things have. And literally, I'm blown away. Even for a car that's 8 years old, and you can find these, I wouldn't say cheap, but not really expensive either. And you get a lot for your money with this platform. So it's a first for me to say this on the channel, but you're gonna see this car again, and you're gonna see a different variation of it on the channel. Now, obviously, I don't want you guys to wait for content on that car. So there's certain things that my brother wants to do to this car that we're gonna be featuring on this channel. So if you do wanna see modifications done to this specific S5 3.0T supercharged V6, you make sure that you stay tuned to JR14, and you'll get all the content on install parts that are coming for this Audi specifically. So if you did like this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. Also make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to JR14. You guys always remember, when cars like this bring smiles to your face, you guys always remember that cars are a lifestyle.